Hello, it's Matt, your man for Media Mischief. And why is it so hard to get Alien right? As we all know, Alien and Aliens are two of the greatest sci-fi horror movies ever, but every sequel since them has been divisive, to say the least. Well, since I love the first two movies so much, that's what I'm gonna find out today. I'm gonna watch every mainline Alien sequel since Aliens to try to find that secret sauce that makes an Alien movie so dang good. Let's start with... After 6 years in an infamous development hell, Aliens finally got a sequel in 1992. Alien Cubed. The film opens with a pretty scary scene that keeps getting interrupted by the title sequence, and then killing off Hicks, Bishop, and Newt. Wow, way to get the audience to immediately turn against you, movie. Ripley ultimately finds herself on a prison planet specifically for individuals with Jacob syndrome, and yes, this movie believes the false narrative that those with the syndrome are inherently prone to antisocial behavior. But what's more is that the prisoners are members of a cult that try to keep their violent urges in check with Christian fundamentalism. All these plot points together don't make a cohesive whole and either have a muddled message or a really ugly one. Speaking of ugly, this movie. It's so brown and drab looking, and that's not helped by some of the worst xenomorph effects in the series. The horror is just not good either. The movie presumes the audience will be just as scared of the prisoners as they are of the xenomorph, but neither faction gets any tension built up around them. And after watching Ripley kill several xenomorphs in the past two movies, neither can be thought of as legitimate threats. With all this said, I actually do like the idea that, because they're on a prison planet, there are no weapons to fight the xenomorph. I think in a better written movie, setting up and executing alternate ways to fight the xenomorph would have been a great opportunity for Ripley to bond with characters both old and new, and I would love to see another filmmaker take a stab at the idea. I wish I had more to say about this movie, but it's just a boring slog that fails to measure up to the two legendary films that preceded it. At least it's better than... Let me be clear. Alien 3 was considered a critical and financial disappointment. So I have no idea why, 5 years later, Fox decided to make a direct sequel to it with Alien Resurrection. Taking place 200 years after the events of Alien 3, the film follows some mercenaries who request room and board at a military installation and a clone of Ripley who has superpowers due to the xenomorph queen that was inside her at the time of her death. If all this sounds really dumb, that's because it is. Basically, the Queen clone that was in Ripley births a ton of xenomorphs for scientists, and the plot plays out in a predictable, albeit stupider way. Watching this movie, I feel bad for this cast. Sigourney Weaver, Ron Perlman, Winona Ryder, and Brad Dourif are all very talented and charismatic, but due to a script written by the worst guy ever who ruined movies, they're saddled with making dumbass decisions and some of the worst dialogue I have ever heard in a major studio movie. So yeah, this movie is garbage, but is there anything in it worth salvaging? Well, there is one sequence. Ripley 8 and the mercenaries come across a science lab full of failed Ripley clones, and the whole thing is portrayed mostly without dialogue, allowing the dread and horror of the scene to come solely through the physical acting and amazing creature designs. Some dumb Whedonisms immediately follow it, but I appreciated the scene while it lasted. Gun to my head, I guess I prefer this movie to Alien 3, if only because this movie had the balls to be memorably bad, as opposed to Alien 3's dull bad. However, both of these movies are generally relegated to fan and discontinuity, and really, that's for the best. Let's see if things get any better with... After more than a decade of spin-offs, comics, and video games, the Alien series returned to the big screen under the care of its original director, Sir Ridley Scott, in 2012 with Prometheus. Taking place decades before the original Alien, the film is the story of archaeologist Elizabeth Shaw and her crew on a Weyland corporate mission to discover the aliens who created humanity, the Engineers. The film is wonderful to look at. The CGI is held up surprisingly well, and while I don't think it ever gets as scary as Alien or Aliens, there are plenty of moments that come close. The acting is also fantastic. Michael Fassbender is the standout as the android David, but all the other actors are believable in their roles, even with characters I really don't like. So okay, this sounds like a great movie, worthy of the first two Aliens even, so why the mean title card? Well, I'll tell you why. It's dumb! The characters in the movie are all doctorate-carrying scientists under the direct supervision of the Wayland CEO, yet they make the kind of stupid decisions you'd expect from drunk college students. Including, but not limited to, taking off their helmets on an alien planet, not wearing safety precautions around unknown liquids, risking their lives in a particle storm, not properly mapping their way back to the ship, putting too much electricity inside a corpse, having unprotected sex, ejaculating inside their significant other, getting high during an expedition, provoking an undiscovered life form, not running to the side, and ruining this billiards table. A lot of these decisions lead to some great horrors in the second half, but if someone found them too idiotic to enjoy those scares, I totally get it. But wow, humanity has met their creators and there's a xenomorph-like creature at the end of this movie? I bet this will lead to all sorts of neat stuff in the sequel. Well, here we are, the last Alien movie before Romulus, 2017's Alien Covenant. I don't think Ridley Scott knows why we go to Alien movies. We don't watch them for his android OC, we watch them for the xenomorphs. But this movie says we should care about David, because he made the xenomorphs. This is honestly a really bad call. Part of what makes the xenomorph so scary is that it's this unknowable terror. The crew of the Nostromo and the Space Marines just came across threats way beyond their control, so making it so a literal company asset made them sucks out a lot of that menace. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't have liked it if the engineers made the xenomorphs, but at least they were these horrifying, imposing threats that our protagonist could barely deal with. Speaking of which, I hope you weren't too invested in the engineers or Shaw, because they're dead. So we're left with these colonists who also make dumbass decisions. Except for Catherine Waterston, who's the only consistently good part of this movie. We stan an on and off screen queen. The movie also ends with the xenomorphs getting killed by industrial equipment, which just makes me think Scott is pissy that everyone likes aliens, and he wants to make his own version without all the other stuff that made that movie iconic. God, what an anticlimactic end to this series. It can't even be so bad it's good. But at least we now know. So after all this, what's the special ingredient that makes a good Alien movie? Well, after some careful consideration, I think it's 1. Make it scary. Alien is a horror series first and foremost. Hell, even the most critically acclaimed action movie in the series, Aliens, has plenty of great terrifying moments that I really appreciated upon rewatch. If you cut out the scares, you get shit like Resurrection and Covenant. Geiger's designs are meant to horrify, so use them for that purpose. 2. Get good actors who behave believably. Part of what makes Alien and Aliens so scary is that the characters feel like real people caught in a real situation, doing the best they can given the circumstances. The prisoners, Prometheus doctors, and everyone in Resurrection all make nonsensical decisions or say some truly baffling lines, and that really takes the audience out of the experience. 3. Respect the lore. A big reason why Aliens works is because it feels like a natural outgrowth of the first movie. The thousands of eggs are due to a queen. A space corporation means a space government with space special forces. The android reveal implies there are other models of androids. All the movies we talked about today try to expand on the lore, but seldom succeed. The most impactful change was probably the development that a facehugger and a certain host will lead to the resulting xenomorph adopting certain traits, but none of the others make the same impact. Chromosomal prisons are dumb. Psychic xenomorph powers are dumb. And having one of the greatest movie monsters ever made by the directors Marty Stu is especially dumb. And while I can't guarantee that Alien Romulus will adhere to all these rules, setting the movie between the first two films like the widely acclaimed Alien Isolation seems like a good sign. So let's keep looking to the stars. But hey, I've talked long enough. Now it's time to hear from you. What do you think a good Alien movie is made of? Have you seen any of the post-Aliens movies? What did you think of them? Are you gonna see Romulus too? Let me know in the comments.